So, are you a fan of gourmand perfumes? If you're like me, you have an affinity for these sweeter types of aromas. And of course, with a fragrance with the name Gourmand Extreme, you're expecting it to be an overdose of perhaps some of the best sweet ingredients on the market. Well, I've spent a little bit of time with this one, and I'm excited to give you my thoughts on the smell and also let you know if I find this one to be an extreme gourmand fragrance. So make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin my fragrance review and I tell you all about this fragrance, what it smells like, performance, versatility, longevity, all that good stuff, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon, and of course, give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. Now, of course, this fragrance is called Gourmand Extreme, and as soon as I think of gourmand, I think of vanilla, tonka bean, cherry, ethyl maltol, these very decadent, rich, and also sweet and delicious and sometimes saccharine ingredients. Now, when you take a look at the note breakdown, we have some floral notes, some exotic blossoms, we do have some spices, you have vanilla and musk in here as well, and in terms of the smell, it really surprised me because there is an ingredient that really pops up, or an accord, I should say, that pops up that I couldn't find specified in the note breakdown. And I think it's actually a really nice pairing with the gourmand aromas that are evident in this fragrance. In any case, I'm excited to give you my detailed thoughts on the smell. Let's take a quick look at the presentation. So like I said before, with a name like Gourmand Extreme, you're truly expecting this to be an overdose of a lot of sweet ingredients. Now, if you look at the note breakdown, I know spices can be a little ambiguous, right? You do have some spices that lean a little bit on the sweeter side, like cinnamon, for example. But there's also vanilla listed in the base of the note pyramid. And sure enough, I do get a lot of vanilla from this fragrance, so that is no lie. It does open up rather sweet, you get that underlying vanilla, and despite the fact that it actually warms up and you start to notice it a lot more as it dries down, it's also one of these notes that you can smell right in the opening of this fragrance. So you don't necessarily have to wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for the vanilla to start to peek its head through. You can actually smell it from the very beginning of the perfume's life. But there is something else that I'm smelling in the opening here, and it's a combination of spices. And so I'm sure there probably is a little bit of cinnamon in here because there is a spicy sweetness about it. I don't get anything that smells like eugenol per se, so there's nothing bright and minty. So I wouldn't say there's any clove or allspice in here. And I also don't get anything smooth, peppery, or fresh. I don't think there's any nutmeg, but I do think there's saffron. And the reason I say that is because right away, I got something that smelled like leather. So I said to myself, whoa, wait a second, there's something a bit darker happening in the dry down here, but it's something that you were able to sense and pick up on from the very opening. And saffron is one of those ingredients that is often used to put together a leather accord. And that's what I'm getting from this. So it opens up spicy, saffron-like, leathery, and you kind of have that pairing of the vanilla and the saffron. And so I'm not even sure if there actually is saffron in here, but I'm getting a lot of what could pass for saffron. It's very leathery, it has this darker vibe about it, but right away the vanilla is the perfect pairing to the saffron. So the vanilla is sweet. It's not a boozy vanilla, like I know Spiritu Double Vanille by Guerlain is a vanilla fragrance that people often associate with like having a boozy smell. I don't get that per se, but I do get a lot of that rich vanilla in the base that conveys its sweetness quite clearly and articulately. So you get spices, you get vanilla. In terms of any exotic blossoms that may be in here or any floral ingredients, I would venture to say that they are on the white floral category, or they are of the white floral variety, maybe some jasmine, maybe some lily, or lily of the valley. So perhaps something like that, because there is a sort of smooth vibe underneath that rugged vibe of the leather, but I don't think there's anything heady. There isn't anything too strong like a narcissus or an ylang ylang. And so even though it does say exotic blossoms, and that's what I would typically think of, like narcissus, freesia, marigold, so on and so forth, I'm really getting more of a clean vibe from it. So ultimately, I'm getting the vanilla in the base, I'm getting the smooth musky component that is not animalic, but I'm also getting a lot of that spice in the opening, which is kind of giving the fragrance a leathery vibe, or at least I think that leathery vibe is coming from the spice. At the end of the day, I don't think this is as extreme of a gourmand as some people might think, but that's a good thing, because I think if a gourmand fragrance is overly extreme, then it can be too sugary and too cloyingly sweet, or toothache-inducing, if you will, and that's not what the brand is going for. The brand is going for a fragrance that is a little bit on the more mature side, something that lends it an air of elegance and charm and sophistication. I don't think they're going for something puerile and childish, because you know that if you overdose on the ethyl maltol and some of these other sweet aroma chemicals, you'll end up having another Pink Sugar by Aquilina, and that is not precisely what is happening here. So it's a good thing that there is that nice spicy contrast to the fragrance, and the musk does a lot of really wonderful things in tandem with the floral notes. But is this a gourmand fragrance? Absolutely. Is it a linear gourmand fragrance? Definitely not. There is complexity here. There are a lot of elements that you must piece together to understand the complete picture that is being portrayed here. But I think it's an awesome scent. And for a gourmand vanilla-based fragrance, if you want that pairing of vanilla and leather, check this one out. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, this fragrance is unique. I've smelled a lot of other spicy fragrances and vanilla-based fragrances, but I think it's a unique combination of the two in this fragrance that kind of stands out. And it's a pairing that I haven't necessarily smelled in too many fragrances, or not quite done this way, I should say. Overall smell, very appealing. It's not too heavy-handed on the spices, or as I like to call it, the leather accord. And so I don't think this is going to turn anybody off. I think people will really enjoy smelling this fragrance on you, especially because vanilla is said to be an aphrodisiac. So that is precisely the effect that I think this fragrance is going to have on your skin. In terms of the longevity, I got easily 8 hours from this one. Performs very well. Projection on it was great for the first hour and a half. It did radiate beyond an arm's length. It didn't start to sit closer to the skin until about that 5.5 to 6 hour mark. Right around that 7 to 8 hour mark, it became a skin scent. And after that, you can pretty much apply something else or reapply with the same fragrance if you plan on wearing it in the evening as well. In terms of the versatility, I think this one is perfect for the colder weather. I probably wouldn't wear this one during the dog days of summer, just because it is going to be really, really hot. And so I think this is perfect for the colder weather, perfect for a date night or romantic occasion, perfectly unisex. And I think this will appeal to people who are a bit younger and people who are a bit older, more mature as well, on account of that spicy component. In terms of the presentation, I do enjoy it. Gourmand Extreme by Le Prince du Golfe. And so I'm going to leave all of the links down below if I can find this one online. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something of value from this review. My final verdict on the fragrance is it's a great spicy, leathery gourmand fragrance that doesn't venture into that juvenile gourmand territory, which I think is something that we can all kind of stray away from, especially once we reach a certain age. We just don't want something that smells too childish or too puerile. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Click on the notification bell so that you can be kept up to date on future videos that I'm publishing here on the Redolessence channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you took something of value from today's episode. Love you all. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.